Hello everybody and welcome to the rules for the Five Nights at Freddy's card game, Nighttime Clash. Now, first I just want to explain the goal of the game. The goal of the game is to summon your animatronics from your office and have them move across the board and attack the other opponent's office. Now, the way you summon them is with battery. Battery is your life force. It's like your health, and it's also the mana that you summon your units with. So make sure you spend it wisely, because it's your own health at the end of the day. Okay, now that we got that out of the way, let's run a first turn in the FNAF card game. So, when we start the game, the first player will draw 5 cards. Do this by pressing 5 on the keyboard, hovering over the deck. Wow, let's see what cards I got. Take a Break, Immortal Strength, Relocate Project, Ignited Freddy, and Candy Candy Candy. So I'm going to sort these cards. These 4 are spell cards. I have to use them during my spell phase or with their instant effect. Let's zoom in on Immortal Strength. So this card both has a preparation effect and an instant effect. The preparation effect can only be used during the spell phase, but the instant effect can be used at any time, but it costs a little bit more and its effect is a little bit different. Okay. Now, a unit. A unit has to be summoned during its unit phase. There's no excuse around that. So first, we'll do the camera phase. So first, we'll perform the maintenance cost and take down 2% battery. Next, we'll draw a card, except since it's our first turn, we won't draw a card. And let's flip and discover a room that's adjacent to one of these 4 tiles. And since this is adjacent, I'm going to flip it over. Party room 2. Okay, now it's time to move on to the summoning phase. I'm going to summon Ignited Freddy from my hand. Boop. So I'm just going to lay him on the field in front of me. Now, you see here, zoom in with Alt, he costs 6% battery. So let me tick down 6%. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Next, we'll bring out his token from the bag. Search, and over here, search Ignited Freddy. Here he is. Look at that handsome fella. Alright. Now let's put him down right in the office. Now it's my spell phase. I can use any 4 of these spells right now, but since it's my first turn, I think I'm just going to use Candy 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 for 3%. I can use any 4 of these spells right now, but since it's my first turn, I think I'm just going to use Candy 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 for 3% for its preparation effect. So choose one effect, restore 5 health to a unit, or restore 6% battery. I'm going to restore 6% battery. So it costs 3, 1, 2, 3, and now I can restore 6%. And this is the area where your active cards are, like my Ignited Freddy and Candy 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 when I used it. Next is my unit phase. I can't move him since he has summoning sickness right now on his first turn. But next turn I'll be able to move and attack with Ignited Freddy. Well, now it's my end phase. Since I have nothing left to do, I'm going to declare an end for my turn. End. And I'll click this button right here. Boop. Okay, now it's time to take my second turn. First, I'll do my maintenance cost and tick down my battery 2 times. Next, I'll draw a card. Freddy Fazbear. Look at him. When this unit performs a successful attack on an enemy office, it deals 5% extra damage to their battery. Wow! And in the dark, if one or more units has 0% battery, then this unit gains 10 extra movement. That's pretty insane. Now it's my summoning phase. I can only summon units in the office and special summoning rooms where you can summon units. Since only the office is available, I can't summon Freddy Fazbear this turn. Since I'm done with my summoning phase, it's on to my spell phase. Since there's no opponent right now, I don't think I want to use any of my spells for their preparation effect. Next, I'm going to move on to my second turn. First, I'm going to tick down my battery by 2%. Next, I'm going to draw a card. Press 1 to draw one card. And after that, I'm going to discover a room. So I'm going to press F to flip this card. Boop. Ballora Gallery. Okay. Now I'm going to move on to my summoning phase. Since I can only summon units in the office, and there's a unit already there, and only one unit can be in a tile at the same time, Freddy Fazbear cannot be summoned in the office right now. I'm going to have to move him out of the way so I can summon another unit. Okay. Next, it's my spell phase. I don't really have anything I want to play right now, so I'm just going to wait and move on to my unit phase. Now it's my unit phase. I'm going to show you how to move with your unit. So press Alt to zoom in, and you want to see the number next to the arrows emerging from the circle under the sword. So that number is a 3. Alright, now that means I can move him 3 spaces. 1, 2, 3. Awesome. Since his summoning sickness wore off, I can use his abilities and I can make him move and attack. Okay, now I'm going to move on to a third turn. First, I'm going to do my 2% battery for maintenance. Oops. Next, I'm going to draw a card. The Joy of Creation. Let's read what it says. When an enemy unit is being summoned, you may interrupt their summon and steal their unit and add it to your hand. The stolen unit costs 5% less battery. Now, important, this is a counter spell, which means it can only be used in reaction to something. It can be played only when the counter condition is met. Okay. Oops. So it's not like a normal spell, like a preparation effect that has a preparation effect that you can play at any time. Relocate Project also has a counter effect. But you see, Immortal Strength has an instant effect. These are the kind of things you have to look out for. Okay, next I'm going to flip a card, a unit, flip something that I want to discover. Whew! Excuse me. Camo 5. Alright, next I'm going to move on to my summoning phase. I'm going to summon Freddy Fazbear in the office. He costs 5% battery. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Next, I'm going to move on to my spell phase. There's no spells I want to play at this time, again. So, let me just let's move on to my unit phase. He has 3 movement, but I want to move only 1 space. 1. You can move him as many spaces as you like, as long as it's within... Oh, excuse me. As long as it's within the number on the card. Now I'm going to use the effect of a room. You can only use an effect on the room at the start or the end of a unit's turn, before or after you move him. Okay, so since it was after I moved him, I'm going to use the effect of the generator. If you control a unit in this room, you can gain 3% battery. 10 use limit for all players, cooldown 2. Okay. I'm going to gain 3%. 1, 2, 3. Now, since I gained 3% battery, I'm going to put a cooldown dice right here on the generator. And I'm going to set the cooldown at 2. Every turn, when it comes to my unit phase, it will tick down 1 time. Okay. Now let's move on to another turn. I'm going to draw one. First, I'm going to start my turn by taking the 2% battery cost. Now I'm going to draw a card. Still here. This is another counter card. Okay. Next, I'm going to flip a room. I'm going to flip a room. Okay, Fun Time Gallery. Nothing I really particularly care about at this time. It's my summoning phase now, but I don't really have any units to summon. So I'm going to move on to my spell phase. Since I don't really want to play any spells, I'm going to move on to my unit phase. So, I'm going to move my Ignited Freddy 1, 2, 3 spaces to my opponent's vent. Now you might say, hey, you're adjacent to his office, his or her office. You can attack their office. Not so fast. Ignited Freddy can only attack from the left hallway and the right hallway. So that means he can't attack from this vent. I would have to discover one of these 2 rooms to attack his or her office. Now I'm going to move my Freddy unit as well. You can move as many units as you want per turn, just as long as you're within the rules. There's an infinite amount of actions you can take per turn. I just want to let you know that. You can use an infinite amount of spells and move an infinite amount of units as long as you're within all the rules. Okay. Next, it's my end phase, so I'm going to end. Now I'm going to take another turn, 2% battery for being me, draw a card, Freddles. Next, I'm going to discover a room, flip it, control module, okay. Now it's my summoning phase. I'm going to summon Freddles in my office for 2% battery. 1, 2. I'm going to search for Freddles. Okay, here he is. Next, I'm going to move on to my spell phase. There's no spells I want to use at this time because I don't really have an opponent that I'm working against. Okay, I'm going to move on to my unit phase. Let's attack this office with Ignited Freddy. Alright, 1, 2, and now it's moved to the right hallway. Since he has the AOA with a door that has a right arrow coming from it, or he could be over here as well to attack from the left hallway. But you can't move over tiles that aren't discovered yet. Okay, next, he's going to attack his office. Now, this unit doesn't have any effects that affect attacking the office like Freddy. So, he deals 5 damage because of the attack stat, which is above the movement stat. It's the number next to the sword. Okay. Let's deal that damage. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Right to the opponent's battery. Now, he returns to your office, or if he can't return to the office, like right now, because I have a Freddles there, you can put him in any one of the left-right hallways, or the vent. So I'm going to put him in the vent. Next, I'm going to move my Freddy Fazbear. 1, 2 spaces. Okay, now I'm going to move on to one more turn. This time, I'm going to add some competition. Let's summon Toy Chica, Withered Foxy. Okay, now I've set up the enemy units. Now something I just want to point out is that it's courteous to rotate your pieces away from you. So if you can see here, my Freddles is facing away from me, and my opponent's Helpy is facing away from them. Do you see how that worked out? Perfect. So it's just one more way to differentiate between you and your opponent's pieces during a real game. We also have different colored bases. That's another way you can differentiate between you and your opponent's pieces. Okay. Now, it's time to move on to my next turn. I'll take 2% battery for being me. And then I'll draw one card. Give life. This is another counter effect. Wow, there's a lot of counter effects in this deck. See, that's the counter effect. When an enemy unit dies, you may steal that unit and bring it to your hand. That stolen unit costs 5% less battery to deploy. Alright, so let's scan the field. Withered Foxy has 1 health and 5 attack. Toy Chica has 1 attack and 6 health. Helpy has 0 attack and 3 health. Now let's look at our units. Freddy Fazbear has 5 attack and 4 health. Ignited Freddy has 5 attack and 4 health. And Freddles has 1 attack and 1 health. But he also has this special effect, Nightmare Aggression. During combat, this unit deals 2 more damage. After this unit's first combat, it loses this ability. Okay, so Freddles can do 2 more damage. So really, he has 3 attack in his first combat. So that means Freddles can probably kill Helpy. Ignited Freddy can probably kill Withered Foxy. But Freddy Fazbear can't kill Toy Chica, since Toy Chica also has this ability, Toy Innocence. This unit takes 1 less damage during combat. So it's pretty tanky at the start of your turn. Now, the summoning phase. I don't really have any cards or room to summon units. But now it's time to move on to my spell phase. I want to kill Toy Chica, but I don't have the damage to do it with Freddy Fazbear. So here, now I'm going to use a spell. So for Immortal Strength, for 4%, I'm going to deal 4 damage to a unit. If it dies, return this card to your hand. Every time this card returns to your hand, it deals 1 less damage and costs 1 less battery. Okay. So I'm going to deal 4 damage to myself. And then I'm going to deal 4 damage to Toy Chica. But however, since this doesn't kill Toy Chica, Immortal Strength will go to my graveyard. Now I'm going to grab a health die. Excuse me, Mario. Ah! And set Toy Chica's health to 2. Since the Toy Innocence only takes 1 less damage during combat, not during spells. So 6 minus 4 equals 2. Next, I'm going to move on to my unit phase. First, I'm going to use Freddles to attack Helpy. Remember, units can only attack adjacent units. So since Freddles is adjacent to Helpy, he can attack him. Okay, so he does 3 damage, and Helpy does 0 damage. So that means only Helpy dies in this scenario. So I'm going to kick him off the field. This is an important time to mention Siphon. Whenever a unit kills another unit, like so, you gain battery according to the size of the other unit. If you can see in the bottom center of the card, it says size small. This means you gain 1 battery for the kill. If it's a medium, like Withered Foxy, you gain 2 battery. If it's a large, you gain 3 battery. If it's a gargantuan unit, you gain 4 battery. If it's a beyond unit, you gain 5 battery. That's kind of how the battery units go. Also, there are none units. Those give you 0 battery for the kill. Okay, so let's move Helpy off to the side into the bag. Next, I'm going to move and attack with Ignited Freddy. I'm going to move him 1 space forward and attack Withered Foxy. So that means we both die. So both tokens go off the field. Okay, so that means I gain 2% battery for killing a medium unit. And so does my opponent. Actually, my opponent gains 3 battery since Ignited Freddy was a large unit. See, we can read right here, Ignited Freddy was a large unit. So I'm going to move Ignited Freddy to my graveyard since he's no longer in play. Okay, now let's move on to this combat. Okay, now I'm going to attack Toy Chica with my Freddy Fazbear. I set my cooldown for the generator because it ticked down this turn during my unit phase. And now I'm going to attack Toy Chica. Now her health goes to 0 and I win the combat. However, my Freddy Fazbear's health also goes down by 1, from 4 to 3 on the die. Alright. Send her back to the bag. But there's something I want to do. I'm going to use Give Life for 5%. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. This means I can grab my opponent's card as they die. So instead of their card going to the graveyard, it'll go to my hand instead. So let's see, since I don't really have an opponent, I'll grab Toy Chica from here and bring it to my hand. Now Toy Chica will cost 5% less battery when I summon her. Alright. So that's kind of an example turn. Those are some example turns of how to play the game. Now let's say my opponent went from, I think 98 they were at, all the way down to 0. What happens then? They're still in the game, but they're hanging on by a thread. If I attack my opponent with Freddy Fazbear from either the left or right hallway, I win the game. And that's it. Since they have less battery than I do attack. Even if they were at, let's say, 9% battery, Freddy could attack the office and win the game outright. But let's say the battery trickles down slowly and it goes down to 0. The opponent will have 5 turns before they lose the game. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So yeah, that's how important battery is to your survival. Now to attack the office, remember you have to use the area of attack, like Freddy Fazbear, can only attack from the left and right hallway. Freddles can only attack the duct. So he would have to be all the way over here and attack from right here. Boop. Okay, the one last concept we have to move on to is size limit. Now, if you'll notice very carefully, in the bottom center of Freddy Fazbear, there's a little thing that says size medium. Now, here's the amount of units you're able to have. 1 beyond unit, 1 large unit, 2 medium units, and 3 small units. So right here, even with all these cards, I'm still within size limit. This is my 1 beyond unit. These are my 3 small units. 1, 2, 3. These are my 2 medium units, Freddy Fazbear and Roxanne Wolf, both mediums. And this is Vanny, my large unit. Now you're like, hey, astute viewer, what about this unit? This Lolbit is a none unit, which means he does not take up size limit whatsoever. That means I can have as many Lolbits as I wanted. So I can have as many of them as I wanted without having any penalty to size. Look at all these units. Whew! But let's say I want to summon Withered Freddy and my office is open. I can't summon him because I already have 2 medium units on the field. Now there's one more thing, and that's called a gargantuan unit. Now gargantuans aren't really in the size limit category. You know, you can have one, there is no such thing as having space for a gargantuan unit. Gargantuan units count as 1 medium and 1 large unit. So technically, I would have to get off Roxanne Wolf and Vanny to have space for Nightmarion. So yeah, this is a big unit, and it has big power. 7 attack and 6 health, plus 3 effects that are all about combat. Yep, you know this one's going to be a danger to the field. All right. Now there's one more thing that I want to go over before we end, and that's beyond units. I have this beyond unit right in my hand. Now beyond units are really units that are beyond the game. They don't go on the field. When you summon them, they don't even need a summoning room. They sit right behind your duct in the void. So let's take off 8 battery for its summoning cost. And 2 for being me. And I'll draw 1 more card just to pretend this is a real turn. And now let's look at this card. Now instead of movement, astute viewers will notice a token generation limit. Now he has 5 tokens he can generate max. These tokens can be used to spend on the abilities for the blob. Now, Shared Agony, Sin 1, that means every time you generate a token, you generate 1 here. Sin tokens. Boop! Now these tokens can be generated in all sorts of ways, but they're mainly used by beyond units. So if I have 1 Sin token, I can spend it and use the ability to gain the siphon from all of the players. It's really that simple. Now, let's say I wanted to attack a beyond unit. My opponent let's get a strong unit out here, like Nightmare. if my opponent has a unit that's made it all the way to the duct, that means it can attack the blob. But since the blob has 10 health, actually Nightmare is able to kill it with its first attack. With True Aggression plus 8 attack, it's able to wipe out the blob in one hit and gain 5% battery for my opponent. So that's basically how Beyond units work. There are many other ways that tokens interact with the game, but that's just the basics on how this works. Now there's one more thing I want to show you. I feel like there's always one more thing. The more I remember about this game, the more I have to show you. Okay, so let's say our opponent has a Nightmare on the field. Now instead of moving or attacking during this unit phase, if it has this card right here in their hand, 20 mode Nightmare, it can instead use its unit phase to upgrade into 20 mode Nightmare. Now 20 mode Nightmare will send this Nightmare card to the graveyard. It will cost 5% battery. And it will replace the token on the field with 20 mode Nightmare instead of regular Nightmare. So these are the two different tokens. And this is the one that will be on the field. Oh my goodness. 9 attack and 11 health. This is a scary, scary unit. Alright, so those are the basics on how to play the FNAF card game. I really hope to see you play again soon. Or help. Okay, so those are the basics on how to play the FNAF card game. I really hope to see you on the field and play you as a worthy duelist. See ya! Bye-bye! Jesus fuck.